Welcome to the Choose Your Path series. This is a series dedicated to all the different niche markets in the Pokemon TCG to give you an insider view of all the different perspectives of this hobby. Once again, if you are new to the Pokemon TCG, if you're a beginner in the Pokemon TCG, if you're a veteran in a Pokemon TCG and you want to see how graded cards are a good thing, or whether or not you want to do singles and raw cards, whether you like sealed investment or overall just running a Pokemon business online or brick and mortar. This is a series for you to give you a glimpse into each one of these different perspectives and niche markets that may give you a direction that you might be good at doing and want to pursue. So once again, sit back, relax as we go through another episode of Choose Your Path. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us once again as we start another chapter of the Choose Your Path series, where today we are going to be going over part-time Pokemon at-home business. And, of course, joining us today is the man, the legend, Echo Collectables here, just to give him a good intro. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, Northwoods. Thank you so much for having me on. I always enjoy doing these. They're fun. For those that don't know, so my name is Joe. I go by Echo Basic Collectibles, or just Echo. Um, so a little bit of background. I'll try and keep this short. I've done this a bunch of times. So Pokemon came out when I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school when Pokemon came out. Um, I was into football. I was a very active individual. But I was also a closet nerd. I was an only child growing up, grew up in the middle of nowhere. So, anything, I grew up in the early 90s before the internet. So you had to entertain yourself a lot. And I didn't have a lot of people around me. So more of an introvert, but an athletic introvert. So, I liked video games. And I picked up, I think I got Red for Christmas. And actually, really, I got the Prima Strategy Guide. I'll never forget. I got the Prima Strategy Guide, and I remember reading through it and I think it was my first RPG I ever played. I mean, I played Zelda, which isn't really an RPG, but I was not like a Final Fantasy guy. And I remember picking up Red, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the video game, and I never started with the anime. I started with the video game, and happenstance. I used to collect. I'm a big collector. I collected things growing up. My aunt got me into collecting. I've collected Transformers. That was probably my primary hobby. Always really liked Transformers. So I collected a lot of action figures growing up. Um, and then I remember going into where my parents were. We went to dinner every once in a while. There was a sports card shop next door. And it was one night I walked over to the sports card shop and saw that Pokemon had a trading card game. And I had no idea what a trading card game even was. Like, I was not prior into Magic. Magic was out, obviously, for a few years. Wasn't into Magic at the time. I think I might have bought a few. I think of one of the kids on the bus might have had some Magic cards, so I knew what Magic was. I just didn't collect it at the time. So I went in, and there was a guy at the counter, and I remember looking and seeing these Pokemon card packs. They were like base set, unlimited was like $10 a pack, and first edition was like 21 a pack at the time. And I think Jungle and Fossil were out. So it's definitely the first year. And then he had a few Japanese sets, a few Japanese boxes that were weird. Like, it was foreign. I'd never seen Japanese cards or anything. So I just remember this guy at the counter ripping these packs. Like, he'd be like, give me four more. And he'd stand there and rip them. And he wasn't even paying for them. And he was just like hunting these cards. He was just pulling packs. And I remember he pulled a Zapdos. And he was so happy. And I didn't understand anything that was going on. But I thought the cards looked really cool. So I remember, like, oh, these are like physical representations of this video game that I'm playing. I was like, these are kind of cool. So I remember saving up some money, coming in, started buying a couple packs here and there. It was either a first or second or third pack. I pulled a Charizard, and the guy behind the counter offered to buy it from me for like $300. And I was like a kid, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like, I really do want to keep it. Like, I didn't sell it, and I remember keeping it. And so I just kept buying these cards just to collect them, though. And then, being the introvert that I was, I remember buying the two-player starter set with the CD-ROM.
Okay.
And I had all these cards, and I was like, you know what? I know there's a game. Let me actually read the rule book and try and figure out how to play this game. let me try and figure out how to play this game, right? So I went through the CD-ROM. I loved it. I thought it was fun. It was like a video game. It was, it wasn't really open-ended. It was, it's like a tutorial walkthrough. But I must have played that damn CD like a thousand times in my AOL-based 1998 computer that I had. Like I played that CD-ROM so much. And I remember building a couple decks. Now we're talking back in the day where like the websites were like PokeGym, Pokemon Zeo, Pojo, like forums. And I remember going on and trying to like talk to people about like how to build decks. And then I thought I knew how to play. And I remember looking up on I think Pokemon had the website. There was a way to look up online where the leagues were. And there was one league in my area and it was at a Toys R Us. And I remember going and there was this little back room in the back of this Toys R Us. And I mean, it was like as big as my office. Like it was a closet. And there were so many people there, packed room because it was in the Mania. This was at the Boom,
Yep.
and there were so many people. And I remember playing this kid. He must have been like a 10 or 11, and I got my butt whooped. And I'm a very competitive person. I mean, I'm captain of the football team. Like I'm not. I've always been
You
competitive.
don't want to
So
lose.
don't want to lose. So that really annoyed me. So I remember going home and like, all right, I got a taste of this. Now we're going to really figure out how to play this game. So I remember just studying and reading and making decks and testing everything. And I couldn't wait every week. I couldn't wait to go to Pokemon League to just play with what I made that week. And bought more and more cards. Met a group of friends. And that Toys R Us League turned when Wizards of the Coast had their own stores in the malls. We transitioned our league to the Wizards of the Coast store. And we ran it there for a few years before that store shut down. And then we moved to like this was in the time period Pokemon was kind of fading. Wizards no longer had the license. So we moved it to a couple like we bounced between friends' houses. Like we didn't have a league location, but there was like 12 or 14 of us. And we'd get together every week at our friends' houses and we'd play the game. And so I went off to college and every time I came home from the summer, we had a league at that point. We had a church, a Cinnamon League church. I met Mike Martin. He goes by Pokepop. Mike Martin is on the rules team for Compendium. Team Compendium is the ruling team for the card interactions from Wizards to Nintendo. It's like the same five core group of guys. And he lives in my area and he was the local, he had the little league. And I got, became really good friends with him. He used me as a judge for all the local tournaments. It got to the point, I went to Worlds a bunch of times. I placed very high level at all the regionals. Like I knew everything about the game pretty much. So I'm trying to speed this up. So I I I started to tournament organize and actually run the regional events with Mike. All the East Coast regionals, the Super Trainer Showdowns, the stadium challenges, all the pre-release events. I went to nationals, judged at nationals a few times. Um, I ended up, so every year my goal was just to get my invite to Worlds. I would play enough to get my points to get my invite as a player. And then the rest of the tournaments in the area, I would just staff. I would just judge or run or help organize, whatever. So I went to Worlds three times, top 16, three times. So four times technically I went to Worlds. So the one year was the transition between Wizards and Nintendo. And it wasn't called the World Championships. It was called the Fan Appreciation Tournament. But that was
Okay.
Worlds that year. So including that, I've been four times. And the goals I never hit. I never I did staff Worlds, but I didn't judge at Worlds. I always wanted to judge. I always wanted to wear the lab coat at Worlds and be one of the judges. I was just a goal mine, and then I always wanted to be up on the stage. So I made top 16 a couple times, but I was never on like the final stage. I
Yeah.
always wanted to be up there with the camera and everything else. That was so cool. Um, so then eventually, my friend group, when I got out of college, we got a house and we brought in some other friends, friends of friends who didn't play Pokemon, but we started playing D&D. The whole group started playing D&D.
Okay.
And the kids that came in, well, they didn't play Pokemon. They played Magic.
Yeah.
And I didn't have enough money for two hobbies. And the way it worked was like, okay, we're getting together every week for D&D. Once D&D was done, the Magic cards got busted out. So everyone's sitting around the table playing Magic the Gathering. No one's playing Pokemon anymore.
Mhm.
So I started to buy Magic, and because I just wanted to be included. Like my friends are playing Magic, I'm gonna play Magic.
Yeah.
So I got pretty heavily into Magic for a while, and I missed. I was playing right around Black and White. So the last set I bought was Dragons Exalted before I got out of it.
Okay. Yep.
And then I missed X and Y and I missed Sun and Moon. So then what happened was I met my wife, my ex-wife at the time, and we had an apartment for a good number of years. And I had all my collection in a box. I never got rid of anything. And I'm so glad, like she got on me so much because not just the Pokemon, but I had Transformers. I had a bunch of collectibles, and they pretty much took up all the space in the living room. We never had a living room in our apartment. We just had boxes.
Good storage.
And yeah, because I wasn't gonna pay for a storage shed.
No.
So my promise to her was when we got a house, and I had room, I would sort everything and I would start to list because I knew it had value, but I had no idea how much value.
Yeah.
But enough where I didn't just want to get rid of it. So what happened was we bought our house in the house I'm in now. We bought our house August of 2020. So August of 2020, right after the pandemic. So the pandemic had been going on since March, a few months, right? And right around September, October of 2020, I started to unbox some of my stuff. And I remember the first thing I did was I pulled up my phone and I said, all right, we're going to start listing eBay. And I have been an eBay seller since, Jesus, 2001. I have one of the original eBay accounts. I was on eBay before they even had PayPal. You used to send cashier checks. So I knew how to use eBay. I also have one of the oldest YouTube videos. If you go back and look, my first pack openings are in like 2004.
Holy cow.
I used to have a Sony CyberShot camera that I used to film deck analysis videos. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, some of it's pretty cringeworthy too, but it's there. It's on my channel. So I remember going through my cards, and I was just like, all right, let me go. eBay, sold listings, sort highest to lowest. And I remember sitting back and going, holy shit, I have that. I have that and that and that.
Four
And then I was like, what? Yeah, these. And I was like, PSA, I have no idea what a graded card is because I'd never seen one before. Because when you're like back in the early days, there were no graded cards. It didn't exist. So the more I looked at it, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to responsibly sell my collection. I need to I can't just I'm getting texted from someone, sorry. My wife, I need to figure out how to responsibly sell this collection. So I started off, my goal was to get rid of my collection when I started. To take it, get what I could get for it. Like, I'm an adult now. I need to move on from this stuff. The problem is with that is the more I looked through it, the more I fell in love with it again.
Yeah.
And the more I did not want to get rid of my collection. So, the more and more I thought about it, I was like, okay, why don't I try and do this? Like, I did sell some of it. And I got some profit from it. And I was like, okay, and at the time I'm watching YouTube videos. I found PokeRev. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could open modern product, and collect for free? Like, I'm starting to want to collect again because I'm seeing all these cool cards I've never seen before. And I'm like, okay, how can I start to collect for free? I was like, it would be really cool if I could because I mean, back in the day, dude, when we were kids, dude, a box of cards was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was collecting, my goal was to open a case of every set. Even as a kid, my goal was to open a case. I remember getting a case of Expedition, a case of Sky. I won a lot of my booster boxes too, as prize support. And then whenever Christmas came around, what do you want? I want a box of Pokemon cards. My birthday, what do you want? A box of Pokemon cards from my dad, from my mom, from whoever. So I'm sitting here thinking okay, what do I got to do to be able to sell enough and open a case of every set for free? That would be so cool, just to open a case and keep it. So I started to make more purchases. So the one thing I want to let everybody out there know, so I have a lot of cards, and the one thing, I get this question a lot, and everyone needs to understand, I'm going to say this. I was a net buyer in this hobby for 15 years before I sold my first item. I was a net buyer for 15 years before I sold a single Pokemon card. Really good big collection came up, and I sold enough of what I had You kind of froze up a little bit there.
Yeah, we're okay. I marked it
Okay,
down,
cool.
so yeah,
Gotcha.
I'll fix it later.
Cool. So here's where we can get into the business side of this. So I guess you could say my initial seed money into Echo-based collectibles was approximately $7,000. We're going to go on that basis. So I sold enough of my personal collection to equal $7,000. I used that money to purchase a $7,000 collection from somebody. Okay.
Okay.
I flipped that collection, doubled my money. So now I have 14,000 into Echo Base. Okay. I found I think that's when I did luck out. So a lot of this discussion, I'm gonna be honest with people. People do like like luck has a little bit, you have to be in the right place at the right time for a few things, but I attribute about 10% of my success to luck. The rest of it I attribute to hard work and busting your ass, and we'll get into that.
It's
But um I found two collections right off the bat. So I doubled the first one, and then I went and I purchased a $12,000 collection, and I graded. So now we're
now you're
looking into
grading.
grading.
Yep.
Now I'm into grading. So I my like this was 2021. So now we're into February of 2021. Now, mind you, I had no idea what PSA or CGC even was. No idea. And I'm trying to do as much research as I can. What do I do? Do I grade with PSA? Do I grade with CGC? Which do I choose? What do I do? And I incorrectly chose CGC. So I sent off like a $20,000 collection to CGC. We're talking like Charizard Gold Stars. We're talking like Shining Charizard. Like like a lot of
The
big
bucks.
hits.
Yep.
Big bucks. I remember getting a 9.5 Charizard Gold Star in CGC. Would have been a 10 in PSA.
Yep.
And I remember sending it all to PWCC. God, I miss PWCC being on eBay. So I got it all back and I just sent it, just full send this graded $20,000 collection. And then I got a good, I'm not going to say how much, but a good amount of profit back from that. So now I have capital. So right around this time, I started to learn the process of acquiring a distributor. So I remember every week I would go on the Pokemon website. I had the list up. I rotocalled every single one of those distributors every single week. I filled out all the application forms. I formed my LLC. Like that's a no-brainer, guys. You got to go form your LLCs. Had all my stuff ready to go. Had every single. I printed out all the paperwork for every one of them. Filled them all out. Emailed them. Called the customer support. Is there any way I can get in? I'm really a serious person. I have this much to spend. Like I hammered the hell out of them until I found one that allowed me to come in. And I'll never forget, he's like, I didn't understand anything about the distribution process. Here's me thinking, okay, I'm in with the distributor. I got 30 grand to spend. I'm going to buy 30 grand in product. I'm going to flip it. The next time I'm going to buy 60 grand in product. I'm going to flip it again. And I remember like my first order, I think I got 3 boxes of battle styles, 3 boxes.
3 bucks.
And I had a website, right? I had a website at the time. So I put my 3 boxes up on my website, EchoBaseCollectables.com, which I don't really use even much anymore. But I had my 3 battle styles boxes up and I was on Facebook groups. And this was like during the drought.
Uh-huh.
So I remember I got them at like 79 or 81 a box. And I remember like even during that time, like I promised everyone, listen, guys, I'm not going to charge you over MSRP. That was my promise to all my people that would purchase from me. I will
Yep.
charge you like 144 a box, 139 a box. Now back then that was that
Still a
stuff
good
was going like
price.
that was a good price back then.
Yeah.
And I felt that was fair. Like that's MSRP. I'll charge MSRP. I'm going to run a business. So I sold my 3 boxes and I went back and Chilling Reign came out, right? And I remember going to my distributor and I remember going to the website and putting in, I want 100 boxes of Chilling
Yep.
Reign, right? I'm gonna get 100
Give me
boxes.
100.
I'm gonna go from 3 to 100, right? In the drought, wherever. So I was a fool, and I remember putting up pre-orders I put up pre-orders for Chilling Reign. And I remember going to all the Facebook groups saying, I'm taking pre-orders, guys. Again, I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea how this process worked. And I sold probably 50 boxes on pre-order.
Ahead of time. Yep.
And then I was like, I'm going to cut it off because I was like, listen, I don't expect to get all 100, but I was like, there's no way they're going to give me less than half. I got to at least get half, right? Half.
50%
I
of my
think
order.
I think I got 6. I was
Oh.
like, dude. So now there's the YouTube video is probably still on my channel. I had to pull an about face. I had to save face. I had to go and apologize to everyone. I had to issue all those refunds. I issued
Yeah.
everyone a refund. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea how this process worked. I thought I was going to get at least half of what I asked for. I was ready to pay the bill. I was like, so it has taken me to where I am now. Well, Crown's a special set. I ended up getting 100 ETBs of Crown, but let's say what was so I just
Silver
put in my
Tempest.
Scarlet. Yeah, so silver I got a lot of. Silver I did get a lot of. I think I'm finally getting a good amount of distribution from my distributor. But what people need to understand is along the way, you are forced to take everything you don't want. So for instance, there was just a deal that rotated through your distributors where in order to get one case of Astral, you had to purchase 2 cases of Lucario V boxes, Lucario V Star boxes. So each one of those V Star boxes has 6 in a case. So I was having to purchase 12 Lucario boxes for every 1 case of Astral that I wanted. Now, so my original business strategy when I started was my goal was to sell modern product on my website and buy collections,
Mm-hmm.
grade them, and flip collections. And to touch my personal collection as least as possible. Um, had some difficulties and some challenges along the way. When PWCC got booted off eBay, that was huge, a huge blow to my business, huge blow to my business model. I'll never forget where I was that morning when I read that email, because up until that point, every round of auctions set market price. PWCC set the market. I had no
Yeah.
worries about sending stuff. It was the best. Like they had the fees were the same as eBay fees. You didn't pay anything extra, and you got eyes on the whole platform. Like you got the world's largest marketplace, and it ran. It was a monthly auction, so it was like an event. It was an event. Everyone tuned in. New people tuned in. Old people tuned in. Like everybody knew to watch the PWCC monthly on eBay. And I remember being in Squeak's Discord, like as stuff's auctioning off live, like people discussing the prices. And then that August, when they stopped and made the announcement, that I was like, yo, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I held back for a long time. And I had a lot of cards waiting, a lot of cards in at PSA with the expectation that once that grading bill hits, I'm going to just take the order and send it to PWCC and not
Yeah.
worry about it. And now I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, I got to list 3,000 cards on my own eBay. Like that's time.
By
That's
myself. Yeah.
by myself. The man hours. I mean, I had 3,000 cards like on the backlog. I had 3,000 cards in the backlog. And that was just for PSA. I think I had another 2,000 CGC. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? Like I'm going to get hit with like a 60 grand grading bill with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like I never, because I thought like I was not grading junk slabs, by the way. I was grading vintage stuff.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't want to dedicate the man hours to listing all that. And then so I remember slowly releasing some stuff to PWCC to test the waters with their own. I still have stuff in the vault, but I wasn't happy with the results. I wasn't happy with the results at all. And in the meantime, I'm still having to buy from my distributor. So um, around January of last year, was it this time last year? Probably this time last year, maybe a little bit sooner. Talking to in Pokenomics Discord, I remember talking with like like 2 cases, that's nothing. I crack that in a day. Like I rip that. I'm always calling my distributor asking more and more and more. And then I was like, and then he said, he's like, I rip product on Whatnot. And I was like, I don't know what I was like, I don't even know what a Whatnot is. I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
So I messaged him and I was like, what's Whatnot? And then like I downloaded it and like he's explaining it to me. And I was like, dude, like, is there any way like you could get like, can I sell and Whatnot? And he's like, yeah, he's like, I'll drop a word for you. So I remember I had to wait a while. I did a lot of Instagram posting, tagging them, explaining who I was, showing that I was personable, showing that I had proving back then you actually had to have a distributor connection to be a Whatnot streamer. They wouldn't just take anyone under the sun.
Yeah.
You had to have, they wanted to make sure you had a consistent source of product.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember getting approved, and I remember scheduling my first stream right here at this desk. I was right here on this side of this desk. And I remember, I think I was opening Chilling Reign at the time. And it was Chilling Reign. And I remember being so nervous. I had up on this monitor, I had the set list. Because I'd never opened cards for people that bought them before. Like I'd watched Whatnot, but you're like, you got to be a character. Like you have to be into it. I remember, like, I'm new to Modern. I haven't opened a lot of Modern on my own. So like I didn't really know like how the rarity system worked. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't know what the rarity scheme was, how many golds were inserted. Like I remember researching on YouTube like what the pull rates were and everything. And then like my first stream went fantastic. I got hooked instantly. I loved it. It was great. Everyone had a fantastic time. I had so much fun ripping Modern product, and that was the jumping off point. I'm now at going on 9,000 followers and Whatnot. Getting up there. We are now a team of 3. I have myself and I have 2 streamers that stream for me on Echo Base. I'm about to bring on a 3rd. My goal, I have new goals. I set goals for myself last year and I hit my goals. I have new goals for this year. I want a butt in the seat with the camera on Echo Base virtually 24/7.
Okay.
I have worked myself up to a point in working capital where I have the ability now to fund the product required to have 3 or 4 streamers streaming full time. Now with that said, I'm sure at some point you're going to ask, because that catches us up to present. That catches us up to the present.
Okay.
And I think you have some very specific things you want to get into. Because okay,
yeah, when we get through the question part, we'll definitely.
That was a little long of an intro. I apologize.
Oh no, it's fine. Like I said, it's good. It's good to get an in-depth how people got to where they were going. Let's just be honest. Sometimes personalities show up on the scene. You know them. They've been there forever, but you really don't know their backstory of how they got there. So it's really interesting to hear. Like for yourself, you went into competitive playing right away when you were. You started out collecting Pokemon, and then you went right into competitive play. While I started in Magic, so I was actually one that started in Magic, and I had a friend that when I was playing Magic went, hey, you should come and try and play Pokemon. I was at a tournament down in our town, and he's just like, you should come and play Pokemon. And I played a couple at the LGS that was in town there. There was an old, we always call him the old man shop, because the guy was like in his 60s selling, his main thing was baseball cards and sports cards, but he started selling TCGs like Magic and that too while we were in high school. And it was just funny because we went there. And I don't know if you remember it, but I always really, really thought it was cool back when I was during that mania, that 2000, early 2000, late 2000, through that period. Do you remember them doing like the WotC store doing the tournament outside, like in a mall? They would take over the front of the mall, and you get gym badges.
We ran all our tournaments in the malls.
I know they were all outside, and you got gym badges. For being there, you got your gym badges, and they had the like you
I have
said.
My original gym badges right over there still.
I got them in storage too. I've got my original gym badges all from all the different, because then we went here a couple different towns. And pretty soon you're traveling because this WotC store didn't get all the gym badges, so you had to sometimes go to another one to try and get the other gym badges, and it was
dude. I remember the first tournament that me and my friends traveled for. We took 3 cars and this is before cell phones were really a thing. We had walkie-talkies
Yes.
and we had printed out MapQuest directions. And it was a caravan and we had the walkies. I remember going to the toll booths and the one car would go and then he'd pay and then pull forward a little bit and the next car would go. Like we didn't want to lose each other.
No, you
And we
keep
were talking with each other with these walkie-talkies between the oh dude, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Just to go to somewhere else to play. Like it was
I just
insane.
remember that. That was always the fun thing, was just getting set up and you were in this. And there was, I mean, it was hype. I mean, the hype that was
It
involved with
was.
going to those tournaments, and when you actually played one,
Yes.
you know, it was just huge. I mean, that was
So
always where we
much
always laughed.
fun.
It was just like, I was hooked on Pokemon the second that I started playing in tournaments and stuff, and I started playing
Yeah.
that pretty heavy, but I always played Magic the whole time, so I always did enjoy Magic all the way up until about 2006. I graduated from high school in 2004. First 2 years in college, I was playing still Magic and Pokemon through most of that.
So you're the same age I am.
Am I?
I'm yeah, I'm 38. I'm gonna be 39, right?
I'll be
Are you
38 this year.
You'll be 38. So
Or no,
should I
I'll be
graduate in high school?
37 this year. Sorry.
Should I graduate in high school in 2004 also?
I had to think. I'm 36, so
How?
I don't know.
You graduated high school in 2004? Oh wait, no, I graduated in 2002. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't even want to graduate.
Yeah.
My bad, my bad, my bad. Yeah,
Like
no,
being
no,
my
yeah.
age. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
my
wait, no,
God,
never
yeah,
mind.
okay.
No, but
Maybe
like
he was super smart. Oh,
super smart and became an HVAC technician. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good life
Yeah.
decisions. But no, I just remember I went until 2006. I played Magic and Pokemon all the way until 2006, and I was like, God, it's getting so stinking expensive. I just can't. I can't keep playing and driving and doing all this stuff. And then I backed down and I went back to Magic because I had a lot of friends that still played Magic. And at that point, Pokemon was, let's be honest, just kind of
it was hard.
dying. And finding
It
tournaments was
was.
getting really difficult, but Magic was still going at that point. I mean, you
It
could still
was.
find
There
tournaments
was great.
local. There's a lot of people to trade with. It was easy to get in with groups. I mean,
The other thing I liked about Magic that caught me into it too, I read every Magic book that came out,
Okay,
all
yeah.
the novels, and I
Yeah.
loved the backstory. I just loved it. Like I love D&D, I love fantasy, I
Mhm.
always have, and like D&D combined with Magic, like they were, it just pulled me in. It just
Yeah.
pulled me in more.
And it was just a lot of, like I said, Magic was a lot of fun. But now I have a friend that continually wants me to come back to Magic, you know, because one of my friends continued to play Magic, even that I used to play with all the way through. He hasn't stopped.
Wow,
And it's like
Wow.
I was at a tournament the other day with my son, and they were playing. So this LGS is huge. Now in Eau Claire, they bought like 3 sections of the mall, and so
Yeah,
they have 4 playing
Wow.
rooms where they can have tournaments, like actually like
That's
100
crazy.
people per tournament rooms, and then they got their main sales stuff and everything else like that, one floor, and it's like. We were there, and he came out, and he's like, dude, I haven't seen you forever. You should come back and play Magic. You were awesome. It's like, God, I can't afford to do 2 of these. And it's like, the more you look at Magic, it's like, no.
Yeah, Magic's in a rough spot, man. I watch
Yeah.
every Rudy video. Man, it's in a rough spot.
I watch Rudy videos, and I just talk to people in the Magic hobby, and I mean, it's so toxic right now. And I've talked this with other people. The toxicity in that hobby, even him, it's just like, I don't know why I keep doing this. He said, I enjoy a play and playing, but he said, this company's just going to screw us at some, you know, that's their mentality is that,
It's true.
you know,
It's sad.
he saved all these decks, he did all this stuff and saved this stuff, and he said, the way they're going to run this right into the ground, and there's going to be nothing left of this thing by the time they're done. And that's kind of, you know, it's like, I really don't want to get
It's
in that
sad.
toxic atmosphere. I mean, I understand the gameplay,
Yeah.
but man, it's just, I don't know if I want to go back into that kind of negativity in my life.
That's the thing is like the great thing for me about Magic was it was always just me and my core group of friends that played. So
Okay, yeah.
I mean, we went to all the pre-releases, and I think I went to like a Grand Prix, but it was more like just like the 10 of us. So
Okay.
we just made decks and had fun with it. Like we made top decks. Like I always made like meta decks. Like I never. It's funny. Whenever I played competitive Pokemon, I never net decked, but I always net decked Magic. I
Okay.
didn't understand. So yeah, because it's more like I started to make my own decks too. That's not completely true. So my favorite Magic set was Alara. I love the Alara block. Always loved Alara. Shards of Alara. Love that whole block.
Okay.
And I leaned more towards white and green. White and green were my favorite types. And I do remember making a lot of my own. I made a lot of my own decks actually. Like I would look up a net deck and I would tweak it, or I would just get an idea. Like I knew control. I knew how to build Magic decks. I never really played. I didn't play a lot of black. I didn't really like that. I do. So there's lots of things I liked about Magic that are just different from Pokemon.
Yeah.
Lots of things that are great about Magic, but then there's also great things about Pokemon.
They both have their great. That's why I continue to
They
play both.
really
It's like
do.
I started in Pokemon, but it's like I don't want to give up Magic because Magic was a fun experience. Like you said, the gameplay was a more strategic. It had a deeper
There's
level of strategic maneuver in it compared
and
to.
there's more like it's almost like so like okay, let me translate this to people out there that don't understand.
I
So
know
for
that's the hard part,
Pokemon,
right?
I know, right? So for Pokemon, you have your deck archetypes. So like
Yep.
you can mill somebody. It's very rare, but you can. You have spread damage decks. You have
Mhm.
um big attacking decks where you got your big
Yes.
attacker and you just
Yep.
power them up and plow through like Lugia V Star, whatever. You have some sort of hand control a little bit. In Magic, it's way more flushed out
Yep.
for everyone out there. You have hand control decks that will literally wreck your opponent's life. Like they will not be able to do a thing.
Yep.
You have decks that are built just about increasing your think about it like this. So in Pokemon, you have your 6 prizes. What if there was a deck out there that just lets you keep adding prizes
Yep.
and prizes? So your opponent, like
Can't
your
take you
opponent
out
just
that
had
way.
you can't take you out. What if there was Pokemon decks out there which you got down to 1 prize and then made it extremely hard to take you out? Like there's Magic archetypes out there. There's different win conditions
Yes.
and they're based around a color system,
Mhm.
right? For everyone out there, there's a color wheel, and it's almost like a personality alignment where you have your red, your black, your white, your green, your blue,
Yep.
okay, and each one of these on the spoke, this color spoke. I'm not going to get into it too much because it gets pretty complicated
Oh,
with
it
like
can be.
then you have the antis like these two are anti of this one. Like it's very well
Mhm.
flushed out though. But like if you play a red deck, a fire deck, a mountain deck, okay, it's gonna do one. It's gonna do a thing. Like it's
Mhm.
gonna have a goal. And certain types of people like to play that deck. You could play a green deck. You could play a big creature deck,
Yes.
and certain people like to play that. So in Magic, it's like there's something for everyone. You're gonna find a style that you like. There's
Mhm.
more styles available in Magic. Like if you like disruption, there's something for you. If you just like big creatures, there's a lot for you. If you like,
Mhm.
just dealing direct, like think about like Pokemon, where you just like instead of having like big creatures, you could just like okay, I play this card and I take an opponent's prize. Like there's something for everyone in Magic. It's just way more flushed out, and it appeals. Like once you get into it, you can have like a whole different experience every time you play. Like I'm gonna play my green deck today, or I'm gonna play my white deck today, and it's just like it's like chess, where every time you play, it's just different. Whereas Pokemon, it gets very repetitive. It gets very repetitive,
It does.
even if the win conditions get very repetitive.
Mhm.
But things I like about Pokemon, so everyone out there. So one of the things I've really liked about Pokemon though is if I have a deck of 60 cards for Pokemon, your deck is very mathematically based to where you will like your deck has a goal. I'm
Yes.
gonna get this Pokemon out and this support Pokemon. I'm gonna charge it up. I'm gonna start attacking. Pokemon is so mathematically based as a deck when you can run 4 of this, and you see so much search and draw.
Yep.
It's very consistent. The consistency of Pokemon decks is like you don't see that in Magic.
No.
A lot of Magic is based off your draw,
Yes.
and it's not so like you will have cards in your deck we'll never see in a Magic game.
Mhm.
Whereas in
Absolutely.
Pokemon, you're going to see your entire deck by
It's coming
turn
out.
one. It's coming out, and I like that. I like that because as a creator, my idea is going to come to fruition every game. Whereas with Magic, your combo, your idea might not come out all the time.
No.
Um,
The Magic decks, I always remember it from when I haven't played an actual Magic game now since '06, and it's like I even remember back then it was really I'd go sometimes playing 3 matches and never ever actually pull out the strategy that I
isn't
wanted to do.
yeah.
But if I play Pokemon, I can do my strategy almost every time, unless I have a really bad draw for some reason. You
Yeah,
could do your
that is
strategy.
true.
I
Yeah,
mean, you can do
yeah,
your strategy in Pokemon almost every time. I mean, you can lay it out.
yeah,
And
yeah, and I
Magic,
like that.
heck, you'd build a deck and you'd have everything ready to go, and you're always Magic. You had to have your main strategy, and you almost had to have 3 backup strategies because you weren't going to
It's true.
always get your
Yeah,
main heavy hitting strategy. But when you got it, you destroyed everything. But you
and
always
you
had
had
the
to have
smaller ones that worked through.
the one thing Magic has that Pokemon doesn't that I love. So like, let's say you're in a tournament and you're in a best of three.
Yeah.
Magic has sideboard, everyone. Sideboard.
Hmm.
Let me explain to everyone out there that doesn't know what sideboard is. You have your main deck of 60, okay? Is it 10? I forget how many's in your sideboard. Is it 10?
10.
It's
Yes, there's
10.
10 in your
10.
sideboard.
You have 10 cards that you can keep outside of your deck that after so I'm playing a deck. I don't know what my opponent's playing. We play our first game. He has a sideboard, I have a sideboard. You can swap in and those cards to tech against your opponent's deck.
Yep.
So like this be like Pokemon, like if you're running a fire deck and you want to run some sort of like water counter, but you're not going to run into a water deck every single game.
No.
It'd be like keeping sideboard on the side so
Ready
that,
to go.
oh shit, my opponent's playing water. I got to swap in these cards.
Yeah, hold on.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
Exactly.
I got to take this and put this
Hold
in.
on. I got to take this. All right. Right.
Once you walk into a Pokemon tournament, with whatever deck you got a 60, you're locked. There's no subbing.
Now, somebody out there might say, if you're a Pokemon player, you could say, yeah, but that's kind of the beauty of it in that you have to be prepared for everything. Yes and no, because a lot of times what you find is if you get to a high level, you're going to have dead cards in your deck that just don't do anything. And sideboard, like, listen, I love Pokemon to death and it's a great game, but Magic's the grandfather of it all. They invented what a trading card game even was. Yep. So the fact that I respect the fact that higher ups at organized play and Magic said, we're going to make this thing called sideboard and it has a purpose and we're going to run with this. So I've always wanted Pokemon to have a sideboard.
Yeah.
And they don't, and I do love that about Magic. But we could do this all night about.
I know. Why we get into the actual purpose of the?
I know.
That's all right. Like I said, it's good to have some people get some basis on, so what's actually out there in the hobbies. But
yeah,
like I said, the purpose of these interviews, of course, is to go into depth with different creators, different niches, different areas in the Pokemon TCG, and also collectibles that actually shows how people were successful, what paths they took to do so, to give new people or beginners into the Pokemon TCG a look or a sampling of what all the different niches are and what may be best fit for them. So we have a list of 7 questions today for a part-time Pokemon at home business that'll hopefully help clarify some of the directions and things that are going on in the backdrop for Echo Base over here, so he can give you a backdrop or a little snippet of what he's doing. So, you ready to get going after the questions?
Let's do it.
All right. First question we have is, what did you do before you got into the Pokemon business? Or what do you do now?
You mean like my full-time job?
Yeah, what do you do that actually supports your habit?
I'm an IT manager. Okay. So I work for a company. I work for what's known as a managed service provider. So a managed service provider, this is my 4th managed service providing job that I've had. I've been in IT for 15 years, 16 years, I don't know, a long time. And there's things I love about it. There's things I don't like about it. One area that it has helped me on business is, so as an MSP, you are IT for other companies. In other words, you are an IT company that places like manufacturing, doctors' offices, lawyers' offices, they don't have enough on their budget to have their own IT department. So they hire an IT company that supports all their technology. In other words, everything from their routers to their switches, to their computers, to their servers, to their user base, to their cloud infrastructure. We support everything. We even have custom software solutions and packages. We have my company has a solution to actually help run a business as far as like QuickBooks, and they have their own complete databasing and like a SQL relational database system that we can employ. So like it's literally everything. It's a ticketing system, everything that we take all of that off the plate of whatever business is out there. So I work within a managed service company. You have your different roles, departments. You have sales, you have IT support, you have projects. So like, let's say a company out there says, tomorrow we're just going to upgrade all our servers. Well, that's a whole thing. Like that's a project, just like engineering has projects. But I have always been in IT support. I went to college for it to be a network administrator. I am a level 2, there's 3 tiers. I'm right in the middle. And I am a manager of my crew. There's 9 people in my crew. So I am a full-time IT manager. I work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Well, yeah, and we do on-call rotation too. So once every few months, I have to be on call for 24 for a week for
Yeah.
7 days for 24 hours a day. Um, Things I like about my job, things I enjoy about my job. I get to think critically. I get to problem solve. Um, I was originally a physics major in college. I wanted to be a physics professor. I want to teach physics. I love it. I love math. And I quickly learned that you can't make any money doing that. Um, so I mean, if lawyers and teachers swapped salaries, the world would be a better place. Um,
No argument there.
so yeah, so I remember being at college and needing to switch my major, and I went to my guidance counselor and they're like, "Well, what do you like?" And I was like, "Well, I really like computers." And they're like, "Oh, it's a brand new major called computer networking just opened up." Like we're talking like, dude, like when you were in college, you had a dedicated IP address, like you had very fast internet. But other than that, dude, we're talking DSL times. Like there was like the idea of being like it's not like it is today. So like college majors based around like at a 4-year university based around IT was like unheard of. I went to an engineering college in Michigan. I
Wow.
went to MTU. You're in
Okay.
where are you? Where are you
I'm
from?
from Wisconsin. Yeah, I've heard of MTU.
That's what, yeah, I went to MTU.
Yep.
So it's an engineering college. So, I mean, so I signed up for this brand new major. There were 12 kids in my graduating class in my major. So I remember coming back home to New Jersey, trying to find an IT job, got in there 15 years later, worked up to my career, blah, 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 blah. So that's what I do. That's my day job. That's my Monday through Friday. What I have gotten out of that that helps me in my Pokemon, especially with whatnot and everything, is being customer facing. I actually have I'm Help Desk Institute certified. They take the same courses as Hilton level customer service. So the Hilton brand
Yep.
puts all of their employees through a customer service experience. The certification that my company made us all do is the same exact course. So I take a good customer service aspect and I bring that to my business. Um, I am now getting to use a lot more of my manager skills. Actually, having 3 people on Echo Base, I've had some challenges with one of my streamers, and working through some of those, I'm getting to use more of my manager skills too. Um, so to answer question number one, that's what I do in my
Yep.
day life.
Yeah. You ended up going from being a manager at an IT company to a manager for your own business at home. So you're
And I want to
using
let
your
everyone
skill
else,
sets.
yeah, that was never like. So how can I explain? So I've actually struggled a lot recently with. I've been watching Z and G too. I listen closely. I
Yep.
watch everyone. I watch everyone. I listen to all these YouTube lives at 2x speed while I'm driving. So that's one thing. That's a tip I can give everyone out there. If you want to consume a lot of these investment videos, Northwoods, Jake, everyone out there, TCA Gaming, all the channels we all watch, do it while you're driving. 2x
Mhm.
speed it, and you can consume a lot of content in a short amount of time. Um, but Z was recently going over um, challenges with scaling, and I'm paying close attention to that because I am facing those now as well. And I want to let everyone out there know that might have goals and aspirations for a Pokemon business. You have to let things be organic. When running a business, I am not a business major. I am I'm finding that I am for one reason or another, I'm actually not half bad at it.
Mhm.
But um I'm not a businessman by trade. And if you're out there like me and you're trying to start a Pokemon business, there is such a thing. If you're not aware of this, no one's told you. There is such a thing as expanding too quickly. You can overextend and overreach yourself,
Mhm.
but there is just as much um, detriment and risk in not progressing. In business, if you're not getting better, you're staying the same, and that is a slow death because if you're not getting better, your competitors are getting better.
They're moving up.
So you do always want to constantly improve your business, but it needs to, I guess the point of this is it needs to be organic. You will know. How do you know?
Best way I can tell people that
I
you know is that when you actually see a demand that's continuing to grow, and you are not able to meet that demand any longer. But you
Perfect.
need to find a point
Perfect.
where you're not
Yes,
overshooting the demand.
absolutely. That is a perfect way of illustrating it and putting it into words. It was a feeling that I had been getting on my channel that what was holding me back from more success was man hours. I didn't have enough. I had too many hats. I'm wearing so many hats. It's ridiculous on a Monday through Friday basis, guys. And I don't know if do you want to wait till we get to a different question about what it takes to run a business, like run of these businesses? Do you want to like wait? Because I could talk a lot about what it takes on a weekly basis to run one of these
Well, why
things.
don't we do that when we get to the third question here, which is going to be what was your
Sure.
final deciding factor? That way you could go
All
into
right.
the running the business and stuff
Sure.
like that.
Let's do
Which
that.
actually we could probably skip the second one because what was your progression in the Pokemon business
Yeah.
to going? I
We
mean,
went.
you've gone over your whole every progression
Yeah.
you've made. So
And
why don't we
I just
just why don't
want
you
to
just
emphasize
yep.
real quick about number two. The 2 points I want to make about number two. So, what progressions did you make? This is more for everyone out there about like one thing. You've watched a lot of Jake. He goes into this too.
Yes.
I want to make sure everyone else, you really need to understand. You I have a like, think about what I've told you guys so far, and where I come from, and how much understanding I have about what I'm trying to sell. Okay. I'm not doing this. I didn't just find Pokemon yesterday. Okay. Now I missed Sun and Moon and X and Y, and I'll be the first to tell you I don't know the market on Sun and Moon and X and Y as much as I should. I'm not an expert. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert on everything, but I humbly will say I had rusty level knowledge of stuff up until 2010. I, well, why don't I just get it? Show you an example of what I mean. I bust these out every once in a while for people. So these are from 2003. Okay. And what you have here are eBay printouts of sales that I used to print these out because I was a poor college kid. And these are the cards that I wanted back in
Keep track.
2003. The computer error, White Star, Shockrich tournament promo card, Tropical Mega Battle, English VS Half Deck, English VS Half Deck, Super Secret Mega Battle Trophy number 3, Super Secret Mega Battle Hawaii Deck, $585. Like, these are things that I knew, like, this is how deep I was in the woods in 2003. Like, I was deep, deep. Like, I loved rare stuff. I liked owning things other people didn't. I loved the feeling of opening my binder at Worlds or wherever, and everyone going, "Wow, you have that, you have that, you
Oh
have
yeah.
that." Like, I loved, dude. It's nothing like it. There's no feeling like that. Like having the rare stuff and having everybody come look at your cards. It's
Mm-hmm.
such a cool feeling.
And that's a
And
oh, I was gonna
no, go
say
ahead.
that's a
Sorry.
big thing that I know Jake, preaches. I say it a lot, quite a bit. Is that sometimes, especially if you're new to this hobby and you want to look at going into, either investing in Pokemon, collecting, going into this kind of stuff, you can't know it all though. There
You
there is
can't.
a
It takes
point in where you
time.
need to realize I can't go that far, and you need to go. I want to be really good at this. I
That is
want to
true.
be an expert on V cards, or I'm just going to use a card, gold cards. I want to be the gold card expert all the way through Sun and Moon, all the way to the future. I want to know the details behind these cards. I want to know everything about that particular item.
So what you guys out there have to understand is when you started at the beginning at Pokemon, your pool of knowledge that you needed to understand was a drop.
Mm-hmm.
And you started at the beginning and you drank that drop and you own it. And then the glass fills up a little bit more. But you have what you already had. And as new stuff was released, it was like you were following along. You
Yeah.
were drinking as the stuff was released. So if you got the earlier you got in and stayed with it, you're obviously going to know more about the game. But if you're out there right now and you're just coming into this, you're fighting against people that have been here and they've seen. They've they're like, dude, I still go to Poke Beach every day and look for new cards that come out. Like I can't wait. But that's the way it was. Is like when new stuff came out, everyone talked about it. So if it's organic and you're learning it along the way, you don't have to study to catch up. So I absolutely 100% agree with that, and it's totally the way it is now today. It never used to be like that. You didn't have to. There was no niches. You just knew everything because there wasn't that much to consume. But now, dude, like every generation, what are they up to for Black Star promos on Sword and Shield? Freaking 293?
I was gonna say they might have crossed 300 on Crown Zenith.
Dude, I remember my goal at one point was to get every Japanese promo card. And
Yeah.
here, this binder is an attempt at that.
And see, I tried
This
to do the
binder
same thing
here-
in Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield came out, and I went, oh my goodness. Sword and Shield came out, and I said the exact same thing. I want to collect every promo from Sword and Shield.
Right. But
I want to just
back
try
then-
it for this generation. Let's do this. We'll get everyone. After
It's-
card 180 something, I'm like, this is getting to be just ridiculous. For just
But those
one
are
era.
just the English stuff. Like
Yeah,
back, like
that's-
I have completely lost. Like I used to pride myself. I love Japanese stuff because it was exclusive, it was rare, it was different, and I had all the English stuff. I have no idea. There's so much Japanese stuff these days. It's ridiculous.
keep up.
I wouldn't even venture a guess at how many promo cards are out there these days. Like it's insane. There's no like. So for somebody like me who even has a lot of baseline knowledge,
Yeah.
dude, I can't keep up with the promos.
No.
I just can't. Where you used to be able to, it
Mhm.
wasn't hard. I used to subscribe to Beckett, Pojo, all the Pokemon magazines, and every month they'd have a price list. So you could study and you could read, and they had the Japanese section, and they had every card listed. So every month you're reading these magazines, you're looking at the price guide,
Mhm.
and because I used to get Beckett when I collected sports cards. Beckett's always printed a price guide. And dude, if they were print that book today, it'd be this thick. Like
JC Penney
it's
catalog.
insane. Yeah, exactly. So
Now I just dated us.
what progressions did you make before business going full time? So when I went into Pokemon full time, I had an advantage. I will say that. First of all, I'm not full time. Not full time. It's a goal.
Yeah.
It's a goal. But it's a goal.
It should say part time, but yeah, I mean, I typoed it. So
Making it a business. Like you really have to be confident. It should be a hobby first. That's the other thing I want to say before we move on from number 2. Remember, everyone, guys, I was a net buyer for 15 years. This hobby took money from me, and I had zero expectation of ever getting anything back from it. I collect it for the pure love of the cards.
Yeah.
So making money in this hobby should not be your primary goal. If it is, not saying that you can't do it.
it's tough.
Not saying you can't do it, but you're not going to be as dedicated to it. In other words, like you're not going to put in the extra hours. You're not going to do the research because you want to find the cards because you like the cards. Like it's different if you're like, oh man, Scarlet and Violet's out. I want to go look at the set translations and the leaks because I like them. Not like just because I can flip them and make money. Like it's different. I just want to make sure everyone out there is aware of that. Like, yeah, it's a big part. I know Dan says the same thing too. He was a net buyer for like 8 years before he sold a single thing. So
Even when I started, I mean, I was collecting sealed booster boxes and all those kind of theme decks and things when I was from 99 all the way until 2006. I didn't sell a darn
there
thing.
you go.
I
There you go.
net bought. I didn't plan on selling, and I always intended on it being a sales item in the future because I did see Pokemon doing well, especially after the first couple of years. And, you know, we were buying... I put up an article up on our Discord. I had to laugh. It was the pricing for that stuff. It was like 49 cents or buy one, get one free at $50 for like a base set unlimited box. And
Crazy.
It was crazy the pricing that we used to buy these things at. You know, because if you tell someone I remember buying Jungle boxes at like $40 a piece, $45 a piece.
Yeah, all those magazines that used to come around like Pojo, there'd be ads for websites you could buy. Yeah, and I remember like like as ads with the big explosion like $39.99. I just remember looking at them like, but that's where I made my Christmas lists from too. So like my mom would be like, "What do you want for Christmas?" I'd give her that page and say, "I want a box of this and a box of this and a box of this." But I bought them for the purpose of opening the cards to have for decks, like. But
and
yeah,
I
remember
kept one. So for me, I always kept
I never did that.
one box of everything because I always liked sealed product. So I actually hurt. It hurt because I opened up. I had that Halo helmet from when Halo
Ooh,
3 came out. It was in the box.
ooh,
The box got
ooh.
damaged when I moved, and I've kept it in the
Ah,
box. I still got the box down here, and I'm like,
is it worth a lot in the box?
it's still. I mean, I haven't even looked. To be honest with you, I don't care. I just always
Yeah,
like to keep things sealed in boxes, and it was like,
yeah.
well, the
Oh,
box
I
is
got you.
damaged. It's probably
Which is
not going to.
funny because I used to do that with Transformers. I was a mint and seal box
Oh yeah,
collector for Transformers, but it never translated to me for Pokemon cards. I don't know why. I never kept
I
anything in the
I
box.
always kept one thing sealed. I mean, I was a player foremost, and then I always kept one box. I always said I want to keep one sealed box. And I said in 2006 I got out of, I stopped playing Pokemon, and like I told people, I had to make the conscious decision then. I had a friend who actually works at the distributor now. His dad owned an LGS, and I had all these boxes of Pokemon, and I said, "You want to know something? If I've got it around, I'm never going to be able to stop. I'm always gonna want to go
Uh,
back to it because I've got the Pokemon, the boxes and all
uh,
this stuff. I'm gonna want to continue to spend money on it. I can't. I've got too many expenses. I was getting out of college. I was starting work. I was trying to do other things, and it's just like here. He gave me an offer, and I made really good money on all the stuff because even back then it was getting harder to find by 2006, especially space set stuff.
Pretty similarly, one of the things that got me to stop buying was I was uncomfortable with the amount of control that the card game had over my life.
Yeah.
In other words, I felt obligated to buy cards,
Mhm.
and it's not that I wasn't enjoying it anymore and that my friends weren't playing it. It was more like I felt like because I had been playing for so long that I felt like if I stopped, I was a quitter and
Yep.
like I was a failure. And I just remember like not liking that feeling and just thinking to myself, that's stupid. Like you can stop. Like you don't have to buy. You don't have like I remember Black and White
Yeah.
came out and I was just like, I don't have to buy this.
Yeah.
And I stopped. I just stopped buying it. Like I felt when none of your friends are playing anymore, it feels more like an
Yeah.
obligation to collect than it was than I wasn't getting as much enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
And my greatest regret is stopping. I'll be honest. This is everyone's, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I would. I mean, like I said, the other part is too is that when Pokemon Go came out, I got that bug where I was gonna start going into it more again, and I even back then I went, no, no, I'm not. I'm not. I was starting up a business. I had all these expenses. I had all this stuff going on. I'm like, nope, I'm just not in the right spot right now. There's always chances. And then, like I said, I came back in Sun and Moon because my son got old enough, and every time we went out to pack,
Mm.
they always had the blister packs at the checkouts at Target
Hmm.
or Walmart all the time, and Ultra Prism, and I
Yeah,
really
I
got
remember
back
seeing
into
it.
playing on
Yeah.
broken bots. So
Okay. Okay. Good set. Yeah.
it was a fun set. I
It
enjoyed
was a
it.
good set. Yeah. All right. So do you want to do number three?
Yeah, why don't we move on to number three? That way you can
Okay.
go into the details that you were starting to.
Sure. So, what was I going to talk about? I don't even remember at this point. Oh, right. So, um, so let me explain a little bit about how I run my business, I guess. So I am a breaker and whatnot primarily. I also do a lot of card grading. So my business involves sourcing collections, grading collections, the cards that are worthy of it, finding an outlet for those raws that aren't worthy of it, um, purchasing product from English distributors, purchasing product from Japanese distributors, um, sourcing Japanese cards raw from overseas. Um, see, I knock everything out. Those are my major expenses. Those are my major expenses. So a typical day for me is I wake up at 5 a.m. Um, my streaming schedule, I personally have streamed Tuesday through Saturday, sometimes Sunday, um, for the last year plus. I stream starting at 6 a.m. and I get off at 8 a.m., 7:59, whatever. I cut the stream, I roll over, I log into my job. Um, I do my job during the day. I will take breaks to like if I got a FedEx shipment coming in, I got to take my FedEx shipment. If I got any type of mail coming in, I have to then anything I've sold on the stream, I have to package, do shipping. I have to ship that. I have to ship my eBay for the day. I have to do, if I'm getting a graded card order, you have to scan, you have to list your eBay. I have to set up my streams from day to day for Whatnot. I have to source collections. I have to deal with packaging and sending out to grading for card grading. When I get an order from my distributor, sometimes I oftentimes have to break down collection boxes, product. I have to take the product and make it in a sellable form where I can make profit off of it. Um, I have to answer, as we all do, customer service emails on Whatnot, customer service emails on eBay. I have to keep up with social media. I'm always having to post promo images for Whatnot. You have to post, there's like, Whatnot has basically like an Instagram feed built into it. So I'm always trying to post um, others. So now that I have streamers working for me, I have to manage. You have to post your stream schedule. So I have to work with the interface. I have to make sure every stream and every store in the stream in its live feed is populated correctly with the items.
Yeah.
I am doing that. So I stream, and then on the weekends, um, Saturday I can go a little bit longer. So a Saturday, a typical. So then, so a lot of that gets done after work. So I work until 5 o'clock, sometimes longer. Um, 3 days a week. So my other hobby is strongman. I do compete in strongman.
No.
So 2 days a week, 2 days during the work week, typically Tuesdays and Thursdays, I will go to the gym and train for an hour and a half or so. And then I typically like to go on Saturday. I'd like to go both Saturday and Sunday. Oh, by the way, I run a Pokemon League too. Um, on
Just side note.
Sundays. Side note, I still run a Pokemon League. So um Saturdays, I typically like to try and go to the gym and stay a little bit longer because I have a little bit more free time. Um, so if it's a day of work on like a Monday and I don't have to go to the gym, when work ends, I'll do a lot of what I just said, getting it ready for the next day. Um, One tip I can give everyone out there is always make a priority list. Always make a priority list. I have a running notepad file on my computer screen of if it's in my head, it's something I need to do, I write it down. I write it down and I'm constantly, okay, and it has to be time based. These things, these are musts. These have to get done before tomorrow or I'm not going live. Like I have, like right now, prior to calling you, I got to set my stream up for
Yep.
Tuesday morning. I'm going Tuesday morning. I got to go live. I had an hour before our call. Um, so I started working on that. So now though, now that I have brought on two people also, I'm trying to move more into the manager role. So I have to make sure that they have the product and the supplies that they need because they're not in my state. So I have to make sure that they have everything they need to go live Monday through Friday. So I'm packaging up their games, getting their prize support ready, making sure, they have enough bubble mailers, they have enough top loaders, they have enough uh, um, penny sleeves. They have enough, they have all the LED lights they need. They have the camera stands. They have everything that goes into running a live stream. I need to make sure that they all have, that they're good to
Yep.
go, that their setups look professional, that, they're answering, they're shipping on time. Like I have to do all of that too with these guys now too.
Mhm.
And it can be challenging because I have some streamers that are, like my one guy lives on a hill in North Carolina, on a mountainside, and he doesn't have reliable power.
Oh boy.
It's like,
Yeah.
but we're working through it. I'm actually thinking about purchasing him a generator so that
So
when
you
he
can
loses
go.
power, he can go. He can go. Like it's the most important thing. You need to go. Go time is go time. Because dead air, when you're on Whatnot, guys, you have to understand. For anyone out there who might be thinking about trying Whatnot, let me tell you a couple of three things. Number one, this deck is stacked against you. The deck is stacked against you. The deck is stacked against me, and I've been doing this for a year, and I have almost 9,000 followers. But when you get into your larger Whatnot streamers, I'm not going to mention names. I don't want to cause
Yeah.
any drama, but there is an unbuilt. There, I'm not going to say what it is either, but there is a built-in unfair competitive advantage that they have at a price level that you don't have. They will always be able to undercut you. That into itself might take the wind out of a lot of people's sails, like sailboats. It does not take the wind out of mine. I like being an underdog. I feel like I'm fighting giants here. So it motivates me. What I had like what you how you want if you're out there and you want to combat that, you have to be entertaining. You have to be there has to be a reason people are coming to you and it's not for the lowest price. That's challenging. It's very challenging to do. Um, knowing that somebody else can undercut you. And a lot of times people speak with their dollar and money matters to people. So profit margins are not going to be as great for somebody like me or somebody newer trying to start as they are for somebody who's grandfathered into certain things. So it can be discouraging. But if you have, so the one thing I can tell you out there that you need, we'll get into that. That's actually another one of these questions. I don't want to get into that. So, what I don't know if I will ever make this a full-time. I have ideal setup for me would be to have a storefront
Yep.
locally, an office building, like an office somewhere, and I can go to it every day, and I have a team in-house that I
Just
run,
constant.
and we stream constantly,
Mhm.
and and that's how I source my modern product. I get to break it, I get to open it, I get to enjoy it. My goal, personally, one of my goals is to be popular enough to be able to grab vintage boxes and open them and not take an L on them. Like I would love to open a Team Rocket Returns box. I would love to open a Fire Red Leaf Green box again. I would love to open all these boxes that I know more about than your average person cracking them because I
Mhm.
cracked them back in the day and I know all about the cards in them. I don't need a set list. And in order to do that, you have to be popular enough where like so your average viewership when I go live at a 9,000 level following, I'll garner anywhere from 12 to if I'm doing singles, it's higher. But if I'm just doing breaking packs, 30 or 40, 12 to 30 or 40. But if you're one of these larger channels and you go live and you're just breaking packs, you get 300 people watching you. And when you're dealing with low dollar items, it's not as big a deal, but I don't want to crack the cellophane on a $20,000 box of cards and not be able to sell every pack. That's a fear of mine. Like I don't want to be stuck with heavy packs that I have to or light packs that I have to then find something to do with. I want to break a box and have the box sell out. If I make a little bit of money, great. But I don't want to take an L. I don't want to take an L. And that's a goal of mine is to get my channel big enough where I feel comfortable that if Echo Base breaks Team Rocket Returns, there's going to be enough people watching where we're all going to enjoy it. We can buy a $500 pack of cards on a moment's notice. Like it's and so that's a goal of mine. That's one of the things that's still driving me to do better and better and better. And in order to do that, I have to expand. I have to have people streaming all day long because that's what the other people are doing. That's
Yep.
what they're doing. When you turn on whatnot, you always see these bigger channels having
Same ones.
something going, something going. And if
Yep.
you're not doing that, you're not competing. So that's what I'm realizing, and that's what this year is about for me. It's about I'm trying
Close the gaps.
I'm it's about filling in the gaps basically. And yeah. So I don't know if I will be able to do that and still keep my full-time job. I hope to be able to. I hope to be able to because Pokemon again does not give me everything I need in order to feel complete as a human
Yep.
being. It does. There's no critical problem solving involved in Pokemon. So that's one reason I haven't quit my job.
Yeah.
I asked Dan about that too because he comes from a chemical engineering background, and that's one question I gave him. I was like, "Do you miss being able to use your brain a little bit more? Like, how do you deal with that?" And he said that he reads white papers and articles. He keeps up on the latest in his industry. And I would not be able to do as much of that in IT. It's not the same. So it's just something that's always in the back of my mind that you guys need to take into consideration out there. If you have a job and you're thinking about transitioning to Pokemon full time, you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this job to begin with? Do I get anything out of this? And will I not get that if I move to Pokemon? Do you really want to do Pokemon for the next 20 years? Like, what do you, this question, another way to think about this question, guys, would be like, if somebody were to give you $10 million, what would you do with your life? What would you do with your life if you didn't have to work?
I'd still work.
You'd still work. You'd still find something to do because
I'd still be
everybody
working.
needs a purpose.
Yep.
Everybody needs to feel needed. Everybody needs to feel needed and feel useful. It's a basic human function. You need to
Hmm.
feel useful in some capacity. So if you're out there and you want to, like, hey, maybe because I used to be a volunteer firefighter, maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to be a volunteer and run your Pokemon business, but you better have something in place because if you're just doing Pokemon, if you're making your hobby your business and you're having a lot of fun doing it, you might. So here, okay, I worked one of my jobs. I worked night shift. Okay, I was in an office by myself for 12 hours a night. I lost interpersonal communication skills. I had to move back to day shift. I forgot how to talk to people.
Yeah.
I forgot. I'm not kidding. I forgot how to hold a conversation because you're not talking to yourself in the middle of the night. Like my job was not to interact with the public. I did an IT job it was an automation job. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to talk to people. And I did this for 5 years. So when I moved back to day shift, it was a shock to my system. You don't want to lose if you're out there and you're in some sort of skilled position. You do not want to lose
Skill.
that skill, that thing that drives you every day just because you're slinging cardboard, if that makes sense. I
Oh,
do want to caution everyone out there about that. If you haven't thought about that, you need to consider that before moving into
yeah.
Pokemon full time.
Definitely an important factor when you're thinking about it. I mean, like I said, I'd always, my body sits here as I get older doing HVAC stuff. It's like your body just doesn't recover as good. And I always said,
It's true.
eventually I would like to be big enough where maybe in 10 years I could back off of my job, maybe go and just do service, skip the installs, skip all the heavy lifting, and just do the simple things and do more of this in the future. That
Okay.
might be an opportunity. That's something I would,
That's cool.
that'd be something to grow into, but I wouldn't quit working outside the house. But that's what I
Right.
said. I mean, just keep my service truck, do my service work, make my income, but then do
And
this
that
more.
gives you and that would give you an opportunity to exercise your skills.
Yep.
You still know you're still in that
In my skill
industry.
sets, and I'm still working with
Yeah.
people. I'm getting that
Yeah.
outside working with people, talking and being involved with the situations, critical thinking because I'm troubleshooting issues and problems that we're having with equipment. So there's all those skills that I'm still using because you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
you do this realistically, your skill set is find a source to buy something, decide whether you want to grade it, decide if you want to sell it raw, decide if you want to keep it for yourself, do said things, take money that you brought from that, pay whatever bills you
Yeah.
want to, and do it again. I mean,
And even
it's
if you incorporate it like a live business,
mhm.
like I mean, I'm sure you had Eli on here, and you can run an LGS. That's a hard path, but you can do that. But
Yeah,
even if you're doing something like that or whatnot, or you're interacting with the public through Pokemon somehow, you still need to take into consideration that that is not the same thing if you're moving from an industry. It's not the
no,
same thing. You're a business. There are people out there that went to college, obviously, for business. They knew what they were getting into.
yep,
If you're moving into business, you have to ask yourself, like, what is it that I was doing before and why was I doing that? And am I going to lose? Am I going to miss it? And can you go back to it? That's a big one too. Hey,
yeah,
maybe you can take a risk. Like my company, if I stopped and I left on good terms, I don't have any doubt that if I want to go back in 5 years or 3 years, I'd have to, catch up on my technical skills, but they would probably take me back.
oh yeah, and they get you up to
Yeah,
speed. They probably help you get back
it
up to
gets you up to
speed because they
speed.
know your work ethic.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I just want, it's something that like it's everyone, don't get don't get short-sighted. Don't rob Peter to
Yeah.
pay Paul and um get blind, get caught up in the limelight of how much money you can make because it's not all about the money. I just want to let everyone out there know that.
No, there's always more to it than just money at the end of the day. A lot of times it's
Yeah.
enjoyment and personal satisfaction too, because you may be satisfied in this, like you said. You could look at it for 1, 2, 3, 5 years. Yeah, I'd be satisfied doing this. I'd be satisfied doing YouTube videos and everything for 5 years. What happens in 5 years? Do I really see myself
Exactly.
continually sitting in this chair in front of a camera talking to everybody all the time? I
My
don't
step
don't see it. I mean, that's
my
personally me.
stepfather. my stepfather worked for he was a safety superintendent for Coastal Corporation, and
Okay.
then El Paso Energy Coastal, and then Sunoco. So he was in charge of safety for every refinery that
Hmm.
Sunoco owned. That man worked up until he was 83 every day, got up at 4 a.m. And why did he do it? Because his mind has went more since he retired than when he was an active 82-year-old worker.
Yep.
Like the human body needs to, you need
I
something to
think
feel useful. You have to.
your dad
So,
probably passed my dad. He worked at all the
wow.
refineries back in when he came out of school.
Oh,
He was running all the chillers and running for
oh,
Mobil.
cool. Yeah.
So he was running
Oh,
all the
yeah.
refineries and doing all the chiller systems and the cooling systems and the evacuation systems and everything for all. He was in Alaska for 2 years. He was all over all
Oh,
these
wow. Cool.
refineries and stuff in the United States for a long
Yeah.
time.
The crude oil business, the crude oil industry is interesting. A lot of people don't know about it, and
No,
actually how you actually get a gallon of gas in your car.
yeah, it's not as easy as you think.
It's
So,
not as easy as you think. Yeah.
all right, Echo, I'm going to fly you through these ones because we're going to get short on time here pretty, pretty quick for you.
Cool.
So, next one we got here is estimated hours worked to income per month in Pokemon while being part time. And, like I talked to you before, and like I tell everybody, you could do it as what you want to make, what you
Sure.
rough base. I mean, because I know it's almost impossible for someone to give you like a. I only know one person that had a direct number on this, but I know most people
So yeah,
kind of get a
who
guesstimate from
Dan?
that. Huh?
Let me guess. Was it
Everybody
Dan?
thinks Dan. No, it wasn't Dan.
Well, because he says in his live videos that he does calculations down to how much it costs him, like how many cards he can list on eBay in an hour and how much he's making per hour. And I'm like, dude, Dan, like
Yeah, I
Dan.
know. He didn't when he did this interview, 4 months ago. He didn't. Guess your
Oh,
second. Who would be your second guess on who would do that? Because I've talked to Dan, Retro, Eli, Old Card Shop, Jake. Trying to think now who the Mason from Cardinal.
I would say old card shop.
No,
Who was it?
Jake.
Was it really?
He. I asked him this question, and he literally gave me how many dollars he's made per hour doing.
Oh my God.
I mean, I was like,
Ah.
I thought it was going to be a trip
So let
up,
me
and he
think
was
about
just
this. I can answer this in I'm not gonna I can't do the math, but what I can do for people out there is I can tell you how much I make. So I this is the first year that I have done an Excel spreadsheet with my monthly breakdown of input and output for business tax purposes. So I know how much it costs recurring revenue every month. I know how much recurring revenue it takes, or sorry, not recurring revenue, wrong term. I know how much monthly recurring costs I have in order to run my business, and I know how much profit I make. It's pretty consistent too throughout the month. My monthly net is pretty consistent. Um, and I can tell you that I net approximately. I got that would be one of my streamers calling me. I net
oh,
approximately 1.5 to 2 times as much as I make at my day job doing this part time. The amount of hours it takes me that I would put. So first of all, let's talk about how many hours I straight sit behind a camera. I straight sit behind a camera. It would be 15 hours a day 15 hours a week that I sit behind a camera. For every hour I'm sitting behind the camera, I'm taking at least another hour to do shipping of the product that I sold. So we'll take into factor another 15 hours just in shipping the product. I would say that after work is done, now I will be honest, I can kind of double dip a little bit. I do have the privilege of working from home,
mhm.
and I do have an IT job, so I am behind a computer. So a lot of the internet-based stuff, I can multitask and I can do a lot of the stuff at the same
Yep.
time. So I'm not going to even count that time, that work time. But if let's say you did not have the benefit of sitting behind a computer and you wanted to just pull, I would say factor in another hour to 2 hours a day for dealing with your eBay, your customer service emails, listing your stuff on the websites, handling return, all that stuff that's computer related. Figure another 2 hours a day, but I don't have to do that. So let's say we're already up to 30 hours a week. Now, let's take into consideration all the stuff that I have to do outside of work hours. So I'd say it's probably another breaking down product and stuff, probably another hour to 2 hours a day, a little bit more on the weekends. So I'd say I spend a good 40 hours a week, 40 to 50 hours a week just on Pokemon. Um, it's a full-time job. It's a second full-time job as a part-time job. But again, everyone out there, remember 15 of that straight off the boat, and well, really 30 of that. A lot of that is the fact that I'm a streamer. So I have to, I'd say this is something you have to decide if you want an active or a passive Pokemon business, an
Mhm.
active or a passive Pokemon business. I have an active Pokemon business.
I have a passive.
Dan is exactly Dan, you guys have more of a passive Pokemon business. It's just, I came into this with more of a passive mindset. I used to be on Troll and Toad Evo. I got cut. I used to have PWCC as an outlet. That got cut. Like certain things that were in my business model along the way have forced me more to an active Pokemon business. So, those would be the two answers I can give you guys. I make about 1.5 to 2 times as much as I do a year annually at my day job. And in order to do that, I have to devote approximately 40 to 50 hours, maybe a little bit more on the weekends, a week, probably actually a lot more on the weekends, probably more like 50 hours a week. Just say 50 hours a week, um, in an active Pokemon business.
Yeah. Perfect answer. Like I said, that gives people at least an idea what they're looking at, for
Yeah,
determining whether or not they want to go active. I mean, it's a huge decision. Like I
it
said,
is.
the benefits to a passive role is that if I don't want to sell anything for a month, I just shut down my TCG player, or I shut down my other accounts, and I just disappear for a while and do what I need to do, and then I can just turn them all back on and start pushing
Yeah,
again. So I mean,
I am,
realistically, that's a nice thing about passive. You can just
and
do
that's
what you need.
I am trying to move Echo Base. I'm trying to get out of streaming. I want to get out of the sales role, and I want to, other than when I want to. So I ideally only want to stream when I want to break something. Scarlet and Violet just came out. Dude, nothing would give me more joy than crack a case of Scarlet and Violet on camera and see all the new cards with everyone.
Yep.
But you can't run a business like that because distributors force you to take product. I don't want to do the legwork. I want to have a business, and I have the working capital now where I have the ability to do this. I can pay people to stream for me, to do the grinding work that it requires to keep the business afloat. But my goal is to, at some point, be less active and more passive in a managerial role, running the company, the business, whatever you want to call it, and having people break. Once I'm done having the fun that I want, you still have to break the product. Like people out there still want it. I don't personally want to open 5,000 packs of Silver Tempest. People out there might want 5,000 packs of
They
Silver
want them.
Tempest. They want them. I don't want to. I don't want to open 5,000 packs of Silver Tempest. I might want to open 500 packs of Silver Tempest and have fun with it,
Yeah.
and then be like, okay, Timmy and Mike and Rick, here, you open the rest. Like,
That's all
I don't want to
yours.
do it.
Just
Exactly. Like I
break it up how you want, get them all open. I don't
right.
care how you do it.
Exactly. Like that would be ideal for me. Like doing vintage box breaks when I want and opening new product to the amount that I want to, where I can then
Yeah.
take some time back and give that to my family. Because I haven't like let's be honest too, guys. We're all like I have two kids, two stepkids in sports, and I have a wife, and I have to devote my weekly time does go to that too. Like I have to give them cycles and man hours too.
Hmm.
Like I think of every like I am a naturally I look for efficiencies in systems, and I look at my week as cycles and how much cycles and man hours I could devote to certain things and on a priority basis. And you have to when you're running one of these businesses. Um, and it's as harsh and as callous and cold as it sounds, I'm sorry, but your family, they're time vampires. And you have to, it's not schedule them in, but you have to take that into calculation. And you have to give them
What they
you
deserve.
have to what they deserve, but when you're doing it, you have to be present in the moment. So like it really pisses my wife off when I'm spending time with her and I'm checking my phone, for instance. She hates it. So, like you have to give your family your attention, your full attention. When you're giving them your time, give them your time.
Yep. That's the one rule that I started doing when I started doing YouTube. You know, because when you start building a business or a YouTube channel or any of these kind of things, you start going into the whole every time something happens, you know, your phone goes off, you're instantly got your face in it to see what's going on. And it's like now I've gotten to a point even on my side where it's like, okay, when I'm with my family, I put my phone down. I'm not looking at it. I don't care what's going on. And then I have it actually set so I can put silence, except for starred calls. So then family can get a hold of me, but actually people just can't. It's just blocked off. It's just there's no noise, there's no nothing except for if there's an emergency. So, and that's where, like you said, you got to give it to your family too, because they're an important factor when it comes down to being, in my opinion, they're a huge part of being successful in anything you do. If you have a family,
Yeah.
if they're not backing you and they're mad at you all the time because you're down here like me, I'm in the basement too much in my little studio,
Yeah.
they get angry, you know, and I don't blame them. They have time, they have needs that they want me there, that I got projects that need to be done. I need to spend time with my kids and family and go to baseball games and go to softball games and be there. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And it's difficult
Yeah.
sometimes.
This also being my work office for my day job, it's very hard for me to want to come down here. Pokemon's also our hobby too, right? We're supposed to have fun.
Yep.
Like this is supposed, like I still keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I still make decks. I still want to play the damn game. But when I was a kid and we didn't have responsibilities, it was fine for me to sit in my bedroom, in my room, and look through my binders, make deck. Like that's what I did. Why watch TV or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I spend all day in this room from 5 a.m. until 5 p.m. literally every day. I don't want to be down here once the time runs out. Like I want to be out of this room. I'm tired of being
Yep.
in this physical location. I do not want to sit in this chair anymore.
Yep.
If you're out there, like you have to take, like you can only sit, you can only do so much in a day. You can't conquer the world in every single day. Like,
No.
and I've gone as far as like my binders down here. This stops at modern. My modern stuff is upstairs in my bedroom because if I'm upstairs and my wife's at work because she works third shift ER, she's a nurse tech. Um, if I want to build a deck, I'm going to be in my bedroom watching TV or something in a relaxed environment. Those binders up there, like that's my enjoyment. Like
Yep.
that's not I I don't see anything business related when I look at that Pokemon stuff.
Yep.
That's me just looking through the cards, enjoying the cards, pulling the stuff out, trying to make some decks like as I'm watching TV and stuff. So I literally physically moved my modern to a different room of the house, my collection of modern to a different room of the house. I keep my vintage behind me because I might need to pull it out and stream. Like it's more, I use that more uh, as as showpieces for people.
Yep.
Like I don't, I
It's
know
a
it's in every
tool.
one of those binders. It's a tool. It's a
Yep.
tool, which is
Got
why
a
it's in
good tool
this
behind
room.
you. Yep. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, um, what is the one mistake that you could advise others to avoid when trying to go into Pokemon business?
Jeez, the one
We
mistake.
talked about there's probably a
I
closet full.
know. Um, this should be. Let me come back to this one.
Yep, we can skip over that one for now.
Yeah, let me come
Um,
back to that one.
Next one I got is the number one most important thing if you are in a Pokemon business.
Work ethic. Work ethic.
Yep.
You being able to handle stress, having a way, having discipline. Discipline equal. I watch a lot of Jocko. You know Jocko Willis is?
Yep.
Jocko Willis.
Yep.
I watch and listen to every one of his podcasts. Discipline equals freedom.
Yep.
You have to be great at time management, great with time management, great with um, doing the most important thing first. So not just time management, but priority management, being disciplined, being able to deal with stress. Because when you start to see, in order to keep your business running, you're going to have to start to spend more and spend more and spend more. It's been my biggest challenge to date is having to scale this because I grew up extremely poor, and um I've always, being the head of my household in each one of my relationships, everything has fallen on me. And I've never asked anyone. I don't own a credit card. I don't own a credit card. I've never asked anyone for a thing in my life. Everything I've ever had, I've earned and worked for. I've never borrowed money from my parents. I've never borrowed money from anyone. Um, and with that comes a lot of worry. I worry a lot. I have a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. So when running a business, this is one thing this is where I'm tying this together. When running a business, when you make money and you come from a background like that, it takes a lot to want to spend money.
Mhm.
You make it and you're like, I need this. Like, I
It's
cannot let
mine.
this money go. I might need it. Like, my family needs it. But when did you think Warren Buffett does that? Like, when you're running a business, this is the adage, you have to spend money to make money.
Yep.
You have to have reoccurring capital that gets spent every month. I almost shit a brick when I did how much I spent the last month trying to scale this operation to 3 streamers. Um, it's a lot. It's a lot. And but I know I'm confident in the business model, and I have a year plus of success doing it at this level. And all I'm trying to do is double it. All I'm trying to do is do it and then plus some more. So like, I've done the calculations. You have to trust the process. And if, it can be scary. It can be scary spending a lot of money to run a business. I don't have any experience doing this. I'm not a business person. It's not my day trade. I've had to learn all of this. I've had to wear all these hats. I've had to get all these new hats on my head. How, making profit and loss calculations, um, you know, recurring spend on a monthly basis, net, gross, expenses. How to, like, you have to learn how to do all this. And if you can get comfortable making projections, it takes some of that stress off of you. As if, like, you just have to sit back and go, okay, like,
The
I
numbers work.
spent numbers work. I spent 1,000, I made 2,000. Next month I spent 1,500, I made 2,400. Next month I spent 3,000, I made 5,000. Like, as long as
Yep.
the ratio of your expenses to your profit is a certain percentage ratio, and you can scale that, just trust the process.
Good. That's one advantage always that I have is that I come from a family that's always done business. So
Oh,
my
yeah.
mother's side owned a big machine shop in Peoria, Illinois. He ran that. My grandfather owned a concrete plant in Gary, Indiana.
Wow.
My dad runs his own HVAC business. I run our own HVAC. I've run
So
into
you
that
have a,
world.
like, yeah.
And I'm not going to say I'm rich. My family's always been a modest family, and we've always kind of just rolled it up. I mean, we own property now, which is the biggest advantage that we've taken over the years. But the biggest thing is that you learn that mindset that you grab an Excel sheet, you grab a book, you run the numbers, go through all the numbers, and you see where the numbers lay out. And if you follow the process and you follow how things are going, you know, yes, have unexpecteds. You got to figure in all these little things, and that's where we even talk about expanding. We were talking about expanding businesses. Right now, we're at a point where we need HVAC technicians in northern Wisconsin. We don't have enough to
Oh,
nearly cover the amount of demand that there is right now. And you sit there, and we've been looking at expanding again, adding another guy, and it's like you sit there and you look, okay, I got the cost of a truck. I have a cost of all the tooling for that truck. I have a cost for all the parts for that truck. I've got workman's comp. I got another salary. I've got, all the insurance.
insurance. Oh, yeah.
I've got his insurances and his benefits are all going to go in there, including paid time off and all the other stuff.
And can he
There's
generate enough? Can you give him enough work to cover all that? Yeah.
and the other part is too is that you're going to lose money when he first comes in. How long
Yeah.
is it going to take to generate that revenue back? That's the biggest question you have to ask when you're taking a lump sum of $100,000 to add a guy into your system. how long is it going to take me to make? How long is it going to take
To
that
make that
technician to make $100,000 to bring that back
just
up?
to get back. Yeah,
Get
yeah.
back. I mean, it's
And is he not going to work out? And you're going to have to do it again with somebody else?
well,
Yeah,
that's just it. I mean, at least you'd have the
yeah,
equipment, but I mean, then that guy doesn't work
yeah.
out. But then you got that equipment sitting there for 4 or 5 months while you try and find the next guy to jump into that truck. So
Yep.
there's always that, you know, unknown, that unexpected. And when you're trying to scale and when you're trying to expand, there's always
So
that happening.
I would very much be interested if you did it. Maybe you have done it. You haven't. If you have done this, I apologize. I haven't seen it. If you haven't, it would be cool to hear. And taking your business background in that and applying it to Pokemon and do a video
I could do that.
with scaling a Pokemon operation and actually like maybe throw up some Excel spreadsheets
Yeah.
and actually show the people like, hey, let's start a theoretical Pokemon business. And
That's a good one.
me, Northwoods, I just opened a local gaming shop and I want to, here's my goals as a gaming shop or as a whatever Pokemon guy. And here we go. I got to expand. And like, here's how much money I have. You should like, maybe you could like throw your twist on that and like show everybody like, okay, here's literally how you do it in Excel.
Yep.
So that you feel, because I sure would love that video. I know that it would help me a great deal because I don't have that business background.
Okay.
I don't have a business
I could
background.
definitely do. I mean, I have no problem using that, but I try and use that business background in some of my content. I try and show, you know, figuring inflation and figuring out the cost of shipping and the insurance, you know, all the things that you don't think about when you're actually doing this. And yeah, I could definitely look through at scaling up your Pokemon business. So
that would be awesome.
You've got one,
Yeah,
or you've started your Pokemon business, and now you want to get bigger. Here's what you would have to be looking at from a business aspect to do so.
Yeah, like let's say you have $20,000 that you have in expenses every month to run your operation.
Yep.
What's a good goal? How much money should you as a business be looking to make off of, like, do I spend 20 to make 25 back? Like, is 5,000 a good amount of money to risk tolerance to have 20,000 in reoccurring expenses to make five? Like, I personally have no idea, but you would definitely know that. Like, coming from running all these businesses like HVAC, you could say something like, you know, it costs $400,000 a month to run my HVAC, but we net, or make up a business.
Yeah.
We net 500,000. So I'm risking this much to make this much. And that's kind of how you want to, like, that type of video would be fantastic. I would eat that up.
And typically, just to give you what we typically look for on paper before we do anything is that we want to see a 25% profit margin. That's typically a really relatively good number. It gives you that flex where you don't want to say 10 because then if something happens or you have an emergency, then, you know, it's gone. You don't have the profit margin. But if you figure it with 25, then you have that flex. Sometimes you'll make 30. A good month, you'll make 30, 35. A bad month, you know, you might be down to 15. So like here we run seasonal. Sometimes we have dead times. You know, February, March, and April tend to be a little quieter. And then also in August, just because it's kind of the mid-between seasons. Nobody wants to spend the big money. So
I'd say I'm probably doing about somewhere between 12 and 18, 12 and 20 on a monthly.
So basically, when we try and do our HVAC business, we try and sit 25%. If we were to average our year through, we try and have about 25% profit margin. So whatever's going out the door, we want to see 25% left at the end of the month, at the end of the year. And
it's good to have. That's the number one thing I took away from this video.
And then the other thing is too is that we look at too is with that 25%. You don't want to pay Uncle Sam. You know, you're always playing that game too. That's where we'll buy new equipment. We'll do additions to buildings. We'll buy a new van. You know, that's where that kind of stuff comes from. Pay our wages and things like that. So yeah, overall that's the basics. And then at the end of the year, you can always, you know, you can go ahead and go start purchasing and upgrading or you know, doing those things to try and play that game also. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. So
I was talking to a couple guys in the Discord, or like them at the end of the year, instead of paying their tax bill, they go and buy a couple first edition Shining Raichus.
Some people do that. I know guys that would go December 1st. They go, they call my tax, like we do. You call your tax accountant on December 1st. Where am I at? And this is what we're probably going to make this year. Well, you got to spend, you know, $40,000 this year. Well, we need a new van. Go buy a new van.
Yeah.
I mean, That way you're staying where you want to be for the tax brackets, and you're keeping everything where it's supposed to be. And you know,
Yeah, yeah, that's something out there people don't consider. Like, yeah, yeah,
no, and I like I said, I'd be more than happy to do a video, and I think there's really good
it's a cool
opportunities
video.
there, so we can definitely do that. So, all right,
All right.
I know we're getting really close here. So, knowing what you know
Okay.
now, would you still start this Pokemon business, or would you redo it, go a different direction?
I would wish in, as my stepfather used to say, wish in one hand and shit in the other, and see which fills up first.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I would definitely do it. Definitely do it again. I've gotten so much out of this. There's definitely been weeks where I've been so stressed and busy, and I'm so tired. I'm always tired. Like, I remember a quote where it's like, I don't remember a day in my life where I wasn't a little bit tired.
Yep.
Like, if you're not a little bit tired every day of
You're
your
not
life, you're
working.
doing something. You're not working,
You're not working.
and you're not working. And as much as I put into it, and as much time, because the other thing Warren Buffett says is if he could go back and do it all over again, what would he rather have, his time back or his money, or the amount of money he has? And he says every time, I'd rather have my time back. You can always make more money.
Yep.
And while that is true, I would like, if you're in a situation like me where you grew up poor, it is nice to have, I'm not rich, not rich. This has not made me rich, but it has taken stress off my plate. It has taken worries out of my life. So for that, I am extremely grateful and very thankful. And I would do this definitely all over again, knowing that at the end of the day, I am still going to have certain worries in my life that I no longer have to worry about.
Yeah.
Um, and I did have a lot of fun. Like, there's definitely moments like ripping packs and stuff. There's definitely moments that have been so much fun. Like, pull certain cards back to back to back, like interacting with all the people. Like, I do have my own Discord. It's really small, but like we have a little community now and whatnot. And like we have I'd say like 20, 25, 30 people that are just are my regulars and my admins and my moderators. And like I built up a lot of this. And don't forget, guys, like a lot of this was during the pandemic where we couldn't go out and interact with people too.
Yeah.
So that was where a lot of this came from too, was wanting to interact with people in Pokemon. We couldn't. So how else like, yeah, that's why I started doing YouTube again, was just to try and hopefully talk to people about Pokemon.
Get involved.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely would 100%.
Okay. Did you want to go back and try and answer number 5?
It's a hard question. Which mistake? I've made a lot of mistakes. I just don't know if they're mistakes that other people are going to make at this point. I would not grade your valuable cards with CGC. That's a big one. I would. Here's a good one. Here's a great tip I can give everyone out there. Definitely, definitely. It's not really so. Never, never purchase a collection of cards over the internet without getting clear back photos. It's the number one.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Mercari, Buy Japan, eBay, Facebook Marketplace. I don't care where. I don't care if it's your brother that's giving them to you. Do not purchase cards over the internet without close-up, clear back pictures of the cards. I have been burnt so many times purchasing cards that come in damaged.
I have done the exact same thing, so I can honestly say that. Where you first start, you're excited, and it's amazing how sometimes the front can look immaculate. They'll have that nice front picture. Holo looks great. Everything looks really good, and you get it, and it looks like a Doberman chewed on the back of it. It's like,
it's so true.
How did you do that? How?
And I'm the type of guy who I typically, especially if it's Facebook, I'm not going to do a return. What I'll do is I'll just sell it. Like, so let's say I bought a collection for $1,500 and it comes in and it's like, hell, I can't flip this. I will repost that collection, but I will take the good pictures and I will tell everyone in the description, like, listen, this is the condition of the cards. And it might not go for 1,500. I might get 1,000 out of it. And I might take the 500 loss.
Yep.
But I'd rather take the 500 L and keep my integrity and just get rid of it that way than the amount of man hours it would take to list and all that individually, or even do a return. Because a lot of the times I'm not talking about people trying to scam me. I'm talking about my own error of not asking people for photos.
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault selling it to me.
No, he just
It
showed you
was,
what it was.
he showed you what it was. Everyone out there, take the time, ask a seller for photos. If they don't want to give them to you, that's a red flag. If you miss out, don't FOMO that you're going to miss out on that collection. That's because that was where my fear was. A lot of it was like, oh shit, this collection's too good to be true. No
Yeah.
one's bidding on it. I got to get it. And then I'd say 1 out of every 10 times it comes out to act. There have been some that I got really good deals on blind faith, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to get screwed.
Yeah.
So take the time. If you find a collection, it's 5, 6 days out from the end of the auction. Email the person. Hey, I'm thinking about bidding on your collection. Really interested in it.
Mhm.
I'm a serious buyer. Could you please take a few moments and just here's like maybe just ask him for like the top 5 hits and like, hey, could you take back pictures of that Charizard and that Rayquaza on page 2?
Yep.
And a lot of times, if you ask for 3 or 4 pictures and they come back crap, the rest of the collection's crap too. So you don't need every picture, but get a sampling of what you're buying before you buy it. Please save yourself a lot of hassle.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one learning curve you have when you do this. Come back in this hobby is that you get excited, and you see cards that you really want, and you buy them, thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be a good, good price. You're going to sit there, and go, I can flip these and make some good money on them. Maybe clean them up a little bit, present them better, do some better lighting on them, and you can definitely get these things and make a quick little flip for my collection in the long run. And yeah, you flip them over, and it's like, wow.
Oh, it's brutal too. It's
I know
brutal, yeah.
when it happens, and then I actually did that about 3 months ago. There was a lot of 10, and I was looking, and I was in a rush, and I went, yeah, I just put a bid on it, for what I thought was fair market on it, and I ended up winning on the bid, and I'm like, oh okay, I guess I got them, and I got them, and I'm like, I bid double what I should have. These cards, if I would have asked for the back cards, the pack pictures, I would have been 100 times.
Here's another tip I can give everyone, and unless there's another question, I'll end on this tip too because it's pretty interesting. Don't fight the flow, and what I mean by that is you can, as a person and an enjoyer of Pokemon, you can like what you like. You can have your own favorites, but if there's money to be made in something that, first of all, this is not to say don't understand what you're selling, but you don't have to like what you sell. You just have to sell it to somebody else who likes it. And I fought that for a long time with selling graded modern cards. I did not want to grade modern. Yeah. And it was a missed opportunity. There's a lot of money to be made in grading modern if you grade the right stuff. Yeah. And I fought that because there's some modern cards. I love alt arts, but there's some, like, I'm personally not the biggest fan of golds and rainbows.
Yeah.
And waifus. I'm not. But I guarantee you there are people that are, and there's money to be made there. So just because you don't like something, don't turn yourself off to it. Be open-minded.
Yep.
Open-minded that there is, like, I don't know. There's a lot of cards recently that I have graded and sold that I would never have occurred to me to grade and sell a year ago, because I wasn't open-minded to the idea. I liked what I liked.
And I've always talked about that too. I don't necessarily like golden rainbows. I think they're very much blah. I think they're a very washed out card. The golds are a little better than rainbows in my opinion.
I would agree.
But, because the shiny form inside of the gold that usually makes it pop out. But I do make the point, and that you're going to go off of futuristic on these things even. You're going to buy these, you're going to look at futuristic, and I sit there, and if you have kids that are opening Pokemon, they will catch a gold and a rainbow card immediately. And I'm not saying that's 100% sure that they're going to come back and be enticed by this. But if you think about the cards that you like the most going back, and the ones that you're drawn to, were the cards that you remembered pulling out of packs.
Let me tell you, I interact, being on Whatnot, I interact with a lot of buyers on a personal level with a chat room. And I have to sell people things in person, which means I hear live what people ask for all the time.
Yep.
People love golds and rainbows. They do. You might not, I might not. We're older, but
Yeah.
people do. But I will also say this was very interesting. I was at League 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Some very young kids I was playing. I was teaching them how to play. And they're like, "Let me see your trade binder." And I don't have a, I don't have, I used to when I was, I
Yeah.
don't have a binder just to, I was like, just
Trade
trying to
cards.
explain to them.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, "Well, what do you like? I'll bring it next time I come. What are you looking for?" And I'm like, "What's your favorite Pokemon?" And then, of course, they're like Charizard. I'm like, "Okay, well, like, what do you like?" Like, what they said, Legendary Collection reverse hollows. And these kids were like 10.
What?
I even recorded it. It's in one of my YouTube. I was like, look, I was like, I got to turn the camera on. Wait, tell everybody what you just said. Like, what's your favorite cards? Legendary Collection reverse hollows. I was floored. I would have expected him to say alt arts or rainbows or
Yeah, I would have too. Because that's what I was thinking.
so.
Even this Crown Zenith, I don't know if you've seen it yet. I actually like this version of it versus
I
the
actually,
first Radiant version. This
I
one
just sent
here.
10 of them in for
What's that?
grading.
Did
I
you?
just sent 10 of them in for grading. Yeah,
Well, then
I
it's
do
worth
like.
it
I
to
like that
send
one.
this in for grading now.
Oh yeah, that's an easy flip. Those will at
Yeah.
19 bucks. Um, yeah, I love that Charizard. I like that one more than the other one.
Hmm.
The one that was just released. That's a cool, like I really do like that. I wish
Yeah.
they did like yeah, I do like that card. It's a good card. It's actually ironically a really good card to play too in the game right now.
I was actually going to look at it because I've heard that and I was going to see. But yeah, I mean,
It
it's got
is.
that. What's the
Like its
ability on
attack,
it? The Pokemon attack cost less than each price card of your opponent's. Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's a
So
good
like
ability
that
right there.
and there's double colorless energy variant out there right now. So like you like your
Yeah.
opponent takes one or two prizes, you're throwing 250 for like a fire and a DCE. It's like,
Well, that's
damn.
that's what I
It's
was
a
gonna
pretty good
say.
card.
Yeah, because I'd run a couple double colorless energies in my deck all the time. So yeah, that would fall almost right into my deck currently.
It's one of the it's like it's one of those cards that's both sought after because people want it to play, but it's also a shining
Charizard.
Charizard.
It's a Charizard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Charizard.
But well,
Because I
other than
actually
that,
bought the one that I got from my I don't know why I did this, but I actually went on TCG Player and bought one of those for $25
oh,
because I was building a Lugia deck and I needed it,
yep.
and I didn't want to. All the ones I opened were out of grading, so I was like,
Oh.
shit, I need this. I was like,
You know,
I'll just go buy. Yeah, I know.
poor planning on my part.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but anyways, like I said, I know you had to get going at 8 o'clock here. So,
yeah.
once again,
Unfortunately,
yeah, I know. Well, thank you for your time once again, Echo Base.
most welcome,
Fantastic
dude.
information you had today.
Thank you. It was
Definitely a
fun.
really good look at running an at-home Pokemon business, plus the streaming aspect of it, which is another, a good avenue. It seems like we're seeing a lot more content creators going to that streaming aspect, and it's a really good insight into that. So, for someone that's looking at starting a whatnot opportunity, definitely a great opportunity here to see and hear from you what they've actually could accomplish or what you've been able to accomplish in it so far.
I hope it's helped somebody out there. If you have a good work ethic and you can't be easily deterred, give it a shot. Give it a
Yeah.
shot. See what you can do.
Yeah. So, other than that, do you have anything else you'd like to close with before we head out?
No, just thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to doing these all the time.
Oh,
It's awesome.
absolutely. Thanks for being here once again. Your knowledge is important. It really helps out people that are trying to make decisions on the Pokemon TCG. So, once again, guys, thanks for everybody that's been watching. Once again, Echo Base, all his information will be down below. I'll make sure to link his whatnot stream and everything else like that so you can find him, join the fun, and have some entertainment with him, of course, on the side, or now one of his other streamers, and of course, any other information he has going on right now. So, other than that, guys, thank you everybody for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time here on Northwoods TCG. And there you have it, Echo.